Hey, what's up everybody? It's Jaime again, and welcome to your second Java tutorial. Now, if you were here last time for the first tutorial, we basically learned how to print out Hello World in Java. Now, as awesome as this is, we're going to get even more awesome. We're going to take our current program, no need to make a new one, and just change a little bit of things. I'm going to create some spacing and delete this old little guy. Alrighty. So just go ahead and explain some things. We're gonna be learning exactly about variables and a specific type of variable called an integer. Now, if you are familiar with the term integer, an integer is basically any positive, negative, or zero value that has no decimal point. So we can have 3, 11, 17, 19. Looks like I'm giving you primes. But yeah, maybe I just like primes. These are all perfectly fine integers, and we're going to be dealing with the type for it, and it's called an int. Now, just before I go into this, you see these purple things in Eclipse that are being highlighted? These are Java keywords. So in Java, whenever you want to make a type, like a variable of a specific type, there are 8 primitive types. And I'll go into them later, but we're going to start off with an int, and as you see, I've typed in int for integer, int, it's highlighted purple already. So whenever you want to make a variable, you have to give a type. So we're giving the type int, and we're going to call it hello. Not really changing back from our last video. So we have int hello, and I'm going to end it with a semicolon. Now, what this is doing is basically telling Java we're going to make an integer and we're going to want to reference it by the name hello. So whenever we want this integer's value, we're going to say hello. And down here on the new line, we're going to say hello equals something. And it can be whatever you want. For the sake of this video, I'm going to go ahead and put 7. And lo and behold, that's actually another prime. So hello 7. Now what we did here, this is called declaring the variable, and this is called initializing the variable. And after we initialize a variable with an actual value, we can go ahead and print it out. So in our last video, if you remember, we did System.out.println, and we gave it the variable, or we didn't give it a variable, we actually said last time, hello world, and we put it in quotations. But this time, we're just going to give it the variable name and say hello. Now, when we print this out, it's not going to actually say the variable's name. It's not going to say hello. It's only going to give it the value. So I'm going to run the program, and down here you see we have 7. It's the value we gave it. Another thing about Java, just so I can do this without having anyone confused, is you can give comments. So if you go ahead and click the / twice, you get this little green text area where you can put in whatever you want. And let me delete that. So just whenever you're writing a program, it's a good habit to get used to commenting your code and telling the user what you're actually doing. So to become some big shot and you want to distribute your code to other people and let them use it, if you provide the source file, such as this, then you want to tell them what your program's actually doing. You don't necessarily want to hide it. You want it to be very readable and understandable for others. So this is going to be a comment, and these may a little bit maybe too obvious for, distributing your code, but they're good for now when you're learning. So I'm going to say it's declaring your variable hello, and down here we are initializing your variable hello with the value 7. And then finally we're printing out hello. And yeah, this is the meat of the whole entire program. Now we can go into more complicated things. We can also have a different type of variable. So another variable I want to discuss today is a char. Now a char is actually short for character. As you can see, Java makes it really handy for you to realize what kind of type it is. So int is short for integer and char is short for character. You can say char, there's not really a set name for it. It's whatever you feel comfortable saying. So let's just say char letter equals x. Now, you see now, whenever we type this out, we have single quotations. if I were to give this double quotations, it wouldn't work. It would say there's an error. Type letter of string. So it's saying that this is actually a string, not a character or a char. So let's go ahead and put single quotations and we're good to go. If we want to print this out, we can just change the hello variable and say letter and say printing out letter. Now there's two things to note here. Last time I passed in this value of a string, an integer, and a letter. When you're doing this with print line, you can print out all types of things. You can print out all types of variables. And another thing to notice is that when I said char letter equals x, I didn't do it this way. I didn't say char letter and then char letter equals x. I just said char letter equals x. So there's two ways to actually declare and initialize your variable. So declaring and initializing. You can do either two ways. This way is a lot simpler. You only have to do it on one line and you actually type less. So if I had int super long variable name and then I had to say super long variable name once more, that would be kind of a hassle. I only want to type that name once. So, you know, you may decide to do the declaring and initializing like this, but if you're not comfortable doing that, go ahead and keep it like this. Alrighty, and that, let me run the program just to make sure it works. And then you go ahead and type in save, yes, and X. There we go. And there's no single quotations, that's another thing to notice. But that's a whole entire media assignment. I'm going to go ahead and give you some other tasks, figure out what can happen, what can go wrong whenever you're doing this type of stuff and working with variables. Oh yeah, let me explain a little bit about the way I like to work these tutorials. So whenever I actually give a tutorial, you can't necessarily learn from just watching. Whenever you're learning Java, you have to do this on your own. You have to go a little bit further from what you see in the video and try to write your own program. So something you could do is write a bunch of variables, go look up Java primitive types, and see what kinds there are, try to work a few out. I'll go ahead and try to post in the description some things you can do, some possible programs you can make, and I hope this all helps out. Please tune in for the third video, and I hope you're enjoying this. Thanks.